We going? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Before we start, boys, anything just to run it down? Sorry. Just same old, same old.
Same old, same old.
Welcome back to TRC episode 2. Full transparency, had some technical difficulties. Try to get in the studio. No audio at the ESPN studios. We're working on it. Probably after it. Full transparency. Probably after, I'd assume, Thanksgiving. We'll be there. But that's when it matters the most, when the playoffs are really about to begin. Kreitz here, Dak
We
there.
played some golden tea instead. We got some good golden tea in.
You got some golden tea in. Yeah, well, we can tweet out or put out an Instagram picture of that, of us getting some rounds in. But we'll be back. Had to get up back on the old StreamYard. Wanted to get some content out, so that's why we missed last week. But yeah, fellas, not too much has changed, to be honest. I actually don't know much at all has changed since that. I think maybe Miami lost the week prior. Maybe Miami hadn't lost at that point. Indiana, I mean, the four of the 5 Big Ten teams are still in the top 5, which kind of shocks me a little bit. We can get into that a little bit. A few more teams have officially died, but, we had a big game this weekend with Georgia beating Tennessee. That's a big one for Georgia because they need that to stay alive. But we'll get into the top 25. Fellas, anything you want to touch on before we do that?
Before the top 25, no. I think really the only changes with at least the rankings and where things are at is just the SEC so far.
Yeah.
Georgia, Tennessee, Ole Miss, Alabama. One school that is no longer ranked that we can get into later.
Yeah.
Go Tigers, of course. But otherwise, yeah, like you said, pretty much everything the same. Top 5 hasn't really changed, and BYU, of course.
BYU, that's one. There you go. Stuber, anything?
Nice. I was just gonna say nice yellow jerseys for LSU. I
haven't worn them since '97. I saw
97 against Notre Dame.
The nicest yellow football jersey.
I'll be honest. I saw a bunch of whenever they tweeted it out. There was a bunch of people in the comments, they were at least on Twitter. They all replied like all caps, yes. Like everybody was super pumped. I don't remember a single person asking for a damn yellow jersey. Not one. Nobody's been clamoring for the yellow unis, but everyone's real excited. Best time to do it is when you're 6-4. Let's go with the yellow unis. That's a great time for it. So.
It is.
They're not bad, but our white unis are great. Our purple unis are great. We have other like alt purple and white unis that we could wear. Yellow unis, 6-4, middle of the day. I don't know. Maybe
in terms of a yellow jersey, who's got a better yellow jersey though? I don't know.
There's a reason. There's a reason. There's not a lot of yellow jerseys.
I know. I'm just saying it's one of the best.
People don't rock. Michigan doesn't rock a yellow jersey.
They did. It was terrible. I saw it.
They did.
Yeah, I was there.
They did.
Very well. They look like minions. They look like SpongeBob behind me.
So I don't know. We're doing white helmets, white pants, which is what I wanted. If we had gone yellow helmets, that would.
Hey, you're fighting for the Citrus Bowl. That's all right. All right.
Whatever. Yeah. We'll get to it later.
We can poke at that later. All right. So top 25. There it is. Thank you, Stuart. Illinois creeps in. They're dead. Does not matter. We're going to keep this pretty, the playoff. But we'll talk about the teams that are really alive. UNLV is creeping in there. It really is going to be, I believe, they already played Boise State. That was in Vegas. Boise State already beat them. Missouri, this is laughable.
They're still there?
Laughable to me. They're still in this. Laughable. I don't know how.
I was just about to ask Stu if this was the updated one.
It is.
They were 23. They were 23 last week. They lost to South Carolina, who I like South Carolina. They're a good football team.
They are frisky.
But they lost again. Missouri has been between 20 and 23 for 7 weeks, and they haven't done anything but lose games. This is crazy.
Terrible.
They got someone on the board probably, bro, on the committee.
They might. Iowa State, the Cyclones, they sit there at 8-2. I think there still is life for them technically to get into the Big 12 championship now that BYU has lost. I believe they only have 2 losses. Arizona State, this is a big one, fellas. Arizona State hosting BYU this weekend. BYU suffered their first loss against Kansas. They're a 3-point favorite in that game. We'll have to watch that. They were favored 4.5 wins. Arizona State was favored to have 4.5 wins on the year. Real impressed with what their coach is doing down there. Got to admit, they could get themselves into the Big 12 championship. They could get in.
They got a wide receiver, Jordan Tyson. Yes. I almost made him Dax Dog of the Week. He had like 176 yards this weekend. He went crazy.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Tulane, they are still alive. I believe they're contending with they just beat Navy, so it's them and Army, 19-20, fighting for that American championship. They just have Memphis on the schedule, so they'll probably see Army. And Army is taking on Notre Dame. That's a big one. This is Army's life right here. And Notre Dame, they have no business being in the playoffs if they lose that one after losing to the 7th overall, 7th in the MAC. I mean, Huskies of Northern Illinois. No business. We could get into them being 6. I think it's too much.
We have a roommate who called that game. He called that game.
Not really. No. It was a different claim. We don't. Who cares? Yeah. Who cares?
Yeah. All right.
Yeah. No. Flop. That's a flop. No. Yeah.
South Carolina, probably the best 3-loss team in the land. Can I say that? Is that fair?
They're
fellas?
awesome. They're awesome. They are a Garrett Nussmeier roughing the passer or like blocking the back call away from potentially being a playoff team.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, they were putting in the business on LSU like week 3, as most teams do under Brian Kelly. And if it wasn't for that, LSU would not have come back, and South Carolina would have only 2 losses and some pretty good wins under their belt. And they've looked great in every game except for they got smoked by Ole Miss, right? That was it.
That was like the big Ole Miss, I believe, and Kentucky. Yeah. Oddly,
they lost to Kentucky. Yeah, but it wasn't like they didn't get killed or anything.
Right. So yeah, probably the best team.
Rocket
Sanders, and then also Sellers. That kid's really good. Their quarterback.
He had 5 touchdowns, back-to-back weeks.
They got some dudes. Yeah, dude. Rocket Sanders averages 5 yards per carry. Pretty nice. Yeah,
it's pretty good.
Yeah, probably the best 3-loss team. If they would have beat LSU, they'd for sure be in the hunt. They play Clemson there, number 17 in that in-state battle at the end of the year. Clemson's still alive. They are still alive. They beat Pitt, I believe, this weekend in Pittsburgh. They're fighting to get into the ACC championship to play either SMU or VU. A&M, they're just essentially waiting that game to play Texas. We'll touch into that game more when we get up to Texas. That'll be in Aggie land. They're getting ready for that. They play Auburn this week on the road, who's just a bad football team. Hugh Freeze might be cooked. BYU loses. Now, Dak, I know you were pounding the table for BYU being higher up. I got to say, I think they're frauds. I really do. So
I agree, yeah.
The floor is yours for defending what you think with BYU there.
Yeah, so I wouldn't call myself a BYU defender. I would say for a long time I was actually a BYU hater. A big portion of the hate, I should say this, is just from Taysom Hill. I've been destroyed by Taysom Hill in fantasy before. Could have picked him up this week. You even told me to, right?
I did. I did tell you that you were playing me this week.
I'm playing you
this week.
Yeah, I didn't do it. But BYU is the Notre Dame of the mountains. I feel like they oftentimes start their seasons 8-0, and they get ranked kind of high. Typically, a lot of white players, I would say, on the team. BYU and Notre Dame, both the same. And then they get upset in a game like this to Kansas, and they drop a little bit. But they're obviously still around. They're 14, but I would not. I wouldn't pick them to win anything. I'm not a BYU lover, I would say.
They are playing, like I said, Arizona State, and they're legit. They are a 3-point dog in that in Tempe. So that'll be an interesting game. I don't really want to see
me Arizona State, bro.
Huh? What's up, Stu?
I said, give me Arizona State in that one.
Yeah, they got a really good running back. I forgot the kid's name, but he's super talented.
I played with him in Dynasty once, I think. I can't remember his name either, though.
With this being the case, and we'll get to the bracket after we list off, I mean, just SMU at this point, fellas, nothing's really changed. They won again. We'll get to the bracket, and I'll speak at this because let's not forget, BYU was, first, technically they were getting the bye, the way it was projected. Because they lost, that is the highest ranked Big 12 team. So they're actually not getting the bye. And our friends over in Boise, Idaho are getting the bye. We'll get to the bracket in a second here. But SMU just hanging on as the top ACC team, even though they put Miami at 8, which they're frauds. Again, something we'll get into with this bracket. But there's SMU sitting there. They win, they're in the ACC championship, and the tournament's theirs to lose. Also mentioned Colorado. They beat the brakes. I forgot to mention them. Beat the brakes off of Utah at the crib. I'd love to see. I'll be honest. Would love to see Colorado. I'm eating crow on the Buffalo. Eating crow on them. I really am. They are sick. I mean, they have the 2 best players, probably the number 1 and 2 pick overall. We knew that coming in, but their defense is holding up. I mean, and they're talented. This is a team I think could win games in the playoffs, depending if they have a bye or not.
For sure. They could score with anyone.
Right. I mean, dude, they got Shedeur Sanders. I mean, we'll get into the NFL stuff later on as the year goes on, but he's going to be a top quarterback pick and he should be.
Shedeur's great. Mm-hmm. Travis Hunter's great. Fans are bought in. Dion is fun. I would much rather watch Colorado in the playoff than any other Big 12 team, I would say. That would be I'm in the same boat. That would probably be my pick as well. And so I'd have no problems with them making the playoffs. I also feel like in a Big 12 championship game and then also a playoff game, Shedeur and Travis Hunter would just go crazy as opposed to BYU. Yeah. And so I would pick them for sure.
I mean, this is the thing with them. Any team you can throw out there, are they not the 2 best players on the field?
2 best players on the field.
Like, that's the thing about them. They have the 2 best players, and one of them plays 2 positions.
Yeah.
They are a threat. They're a threat.
Who's the other wideout that they have too? They have another wideout.
His name's escaping me. They
Horn.
have
Is it J.C. Horn?
Jimmy Horn.
Jimmy Horn. Another Horn. J.C. Horn's in the NFL, I think, right now.
Yeah, J.C. Horn's in the
Panthers. But I think it's a Horn brother. Yeah, I think it's his brother.
I think it's Jimmy Horn. Yeah.
Jimmy Horn's the kid. Yeah, I think that's his brother.
But Colorado's sweet. I'm a big fan. And so I was going to ask this though with the ACC, because when we'll show the bracket here in a second, they still have. I get it that Miami is technically the highest ranked ACC team, but they have an ACC loss. SMU does not, and so technically in the bracket, shouldn't it be SMU because they are technically first in the ACC? That's where they lose me.
That's where they're losing me. I mean,
I don't get it.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. Yeah.
No, I believe they're third. I believe they're actually third in the ACC right now.
They are. Yeah, Clemson's
SMU is third.
No, Miami is.
Miami is third. I think Clemson's at 2.
I'm looking at it right now. You know, it's in 4.
Probably Syracuse.
Orange.
Yeah. Not third though.
Not third yet.
Not third yet. They did win, and so their coach got to shower right away. And so I'm happy for him. I'm happy for you.
Did we miss that last week on the show? I think we missed that.
We missed when Syracuse, their coach said.
So the only shot for Syracuse, real quick before you say that, their only shot at getting third is if Miami loses both their last 2 games. That's the only shot they have.
Yeah. Well, there's still a heartbeat, you know.
There's a murmur.
Kyle McCord can't save you now, Stu. You got to hope Miami loses.
But yeah, continue with the
shower. Yeah. We can get on to let's get on to the actual bracket, Stuart, if you don't mind.
Yeah, let's do that. Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, basically Syracuse coach doesn't
show. Oh, sorry. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, Fran Brown doesn't. He came out last week. He lost to BOB in Boston College, and he says he doesn't shower after a loss. He doesn't deserve soap. So
he doesn't deserve soap.
Yeah.
Turns out, so I feel like if you're gonna stand up in front of the media and you're gonna say that like losers don't deserve a shower. He only made it until Monday, which I get it. That's a long time. But if you play Saturday night, you really just went a day without showering, and then you're going to stand up and make a whole statement. I feel like you got to go the week. If you're going to say losers don't deserve soap, you got to at least go the week. No shower. Go till you win.
I guess so. I mean, if you're just doing a day, what's the point? I agree with you.
He pretty much just did a day, and then he's like,
That's the purpose.
Kind of does. He
won practice the next day.
Yeah.
Essentially, he pretty much did what I do sometimes. Like after we go play volleyball, like Saturday night, he's like, man, I really don't feel like showering. And so he just went straight to bed. That's basically what he did.
Yeah, but the wife, he legit said his wife does not let him sleep in the bed. So I don't. Do you blame her? I don't. And he said, I brush my teeth only because I don't want to hear from you, referring to the media.
Wow.
I don't. Fran Brown, yeah, we're rooting for you, Fran Brown, but that's all I guess. Kind of weird.
Weird.
All right, boys. This is what now the meat and potatoes. Let's call it that. So there we go. We brought this up. BYU is 14th. So no, fellas and ladies watching this, that the bracket is their actual ranking, the ones that are bracketed, but obviously 12-team format, they have to be 12 and higher. So BYU lost to Kansas, which is really sad what Kansas has become. I know they've won 2 ranked games in a row, and I believe they are playing Colorado this week, so that'd be crazy if they won that. But that's a team with a lot of athletes. You would have liked to see them win more games than I think they're actually now. We were hot on them, and everyone kind of was. They had a really good team with Leipold over there, but
they do. Yeah, they got Daniels, and then do they still have Devin Neal?
Devin Neal, correct. They're running back. I mean, they got some studs. That defense is just not good. But they beat BYU. BYU sits there at 14, but the 12 seed, 11 seed being Georgia. We'll get into that. I'll just list off everything. Really ranked 10th. We'll go into the bracket here a little bit. After I read off these guys. 10 Ole Miss. Ole Miss, they beat Georgia the week we missed, so that was a big win for them. Elevates them into the playoffs. Which I think is a right spot for them. I think Georgia, and I'll get into why in a sec, is getting a little bit cheated. Kirby Smart will let you know about it, as he always does. He gets political and, always has to make a statement when the SEC is frantic about getting a spot in. There we go. 9 is Alabama. 8 is Notre Dame. 7 is Indiana. And Indiana and Ohio State are playing big noon kickoff. Your favorite, Dak, with Joel Klatt and Gus Johnson, your favorite cast. They are doing that game in Columbus. 6, the frauds that are Penn State. 5, Ohio State. And then here we go. Shout out Boise State. You know what? Shout out Boise State. I'm happy for them. I hope they really do get a bye. They sit there with their only loss being to Oregon. Miami, the frauds that they are as well at they're really 8, but they're the 3 seed. Texas at 2 seed, really 3, and then Oregon 1-1. All right, where do you guys want to start here? Because I got a lot of things to say, and I
also have a lot of things to say.
All right.
The only thing I'm really thinking right now is that I know if Indiana loses in the shoe in a close game, they're gonna drop them, and it's just so dumb because Penn State lost them. I guess
I disagree. If it's a close game, I disagree.
You don't think they'll drop them at all?
They'll drop them for sure, as they should.
Yeah.
But I think so. The line set at 14. Let's start there. Let's start with Indiana. Okay. All the talking heads are all pissed off about Indiana, right? Okay. Everybody in the media, they're all creaming their jeans for the SEC teams. And I get it. As some of the SEC teams are getting, like, Georgia has no business being put back that far.
Makes no sense. They beat Tennessee. They didn't move.
Beat Tennessee, they didn't move. Their 2 losses are on the road against teams that are also in this bracket, right? They probably have the best win, in my opinion, in college football. You could debate Oregon, but that was at home by a point. I think going to Texas and beating them the way they did was the most impressive win. And the games they lost were on the road. One of them, to Alabama, they almost won that game. So the Ole Miss game, it is what it is. They go in their first real home test, they win, right, against Tennessee. And Nico was playing in everything. But going to Indiana, Stuart, let's go there, boys. Indiana, I don't think, is being disrespected whatsoever at the spot they are currently, right? And everyone's going to say that. It's not their fault, in my opinion, right? And I want to hear what you guys have to say. That their schedule, Michigan was on it, obviously some other teams that just aren't as good as people thought they were going to be. It's not their fault that they suck. It's how the Big Ten schedule turned out. They passed the eye test, too. Playing against Michigan was kind of a tough game, but that was their first helmet win, we'll call it that. But they've beaten everybody by a lot besides Michigan. They beat Washington. That's their best win by a decent amount, by 2 touchdowns. So, if they lose by 4 touchdowns, it's a blowout. They're probably going to shoo them to the side. They're probably going to kick them to the side because Brand, number 1, 2, they don't want to probably throw another SEC team in at that point, right? But if they keep it within 2 touchdowns, maybe even that 3 range, the spread right now is 13.5, I believe. It might have fluctuated a little bit. You're going to Ohio State to play. I don't think you should really get kicked. You're going to get sent down a little bit. You won't have a home game in Bloomington, which is fine. But let's see what they do in their first real test. Now, go ahead. You guys what do you guys think about Indiana?
Well, so who has Penn State even beat this year? That's like that
Illinois.
good. Like
Illinois.
they
That's
beat
probably the best win.
Illinois, and then they almost lost to
Yep.
Bowling Green. Like it's just crazy that they're getting literally the brand bias over Indiana with one loss. Like it makes no sense because Indiana could play Ohio State even better and just as close, and they're still going to get dropped and be way lower than Penn State, even though they're probably the better team.
I mean, so we could go in on Penn State all day, like we've done before.
Fourth in the Big Ten. Just 1 sec. Fourth in the Big Ten, but fourth in the country. How the hell does that make sense? But go ahead.
I know, and we've done it a million times. That's where the committee actually messed up. And when Penn State lost to Ohio State, they didn't drop them nearly enough because Penn State doesn't have any wins that should actually keep them up there. And I think the way that when it switched to 12 teams, the committee, they were almost like, okay, now when we go based off of record, this team has 1 loss, this team has 2 losses, this team has no losses. There's a couple of 2-loss teams that deservedly should be closer to 4. They'll still get in, so we don't have to worry about it too much. But I don't know if they envisioned a situation like this where leaving Penn State at a spot like number 3 in the country causes some real problems because there are a lot of 2-loss SEC teams that are very good. And you have an Indiana team who actually has looked much better and than what Penn State has looked like. And when you leave them ahead, when you leave Penn State ahead of Indiana, that's where you run into some problems. I think at least for me, Indiana and Boise State, that is where I struggle the most because those are 2 teams that I want to just say, yeah, throw the bracket up there. Those are 2 teams where I want to just be like, screw it. Yeah, I want to see them in just for sake of something different, but that's kind of against everything that I sort of believe in. Kreitz, you're spot on. All the Indiana can do is play the teams that are in front of them, and they've looked fantastic with the eye test. They've destroyed almost every team that they've played except for Michigan, and they're being given an opportunity this weekend where you can go to Columbus. You don't even have to win, but people can walk away from that game, and as long as it's within 10 points or so, people can walk away and be like, Indiana is a top 12 team in the country. They deserve to be in it. They're one of the better teams.
Yes.
Because I mean, it's the same thing with Michigan last year. Everyone was saying, "Oh, they're just beating the cupcakes." Yeah, but we were smoking them.
Very different.
They ended
though,
up
because
going 15-0 and winning the Natty. Like, I'm not saying Indiana is probably that good. They're probably not going to win the Natty, even if they do make the playoff. But like, I don't know. They're probably a pretty good team, and I feel like just it is crazy knocking them, even though they're smoking all these teams that they're playing, even if they suck.
So that's where it's different, though, because Michigan had put together 2 seasons prior with a very similar roster where they beat Ohio State, they went to the playoff, and obviously they do have the brand. And so that's the one spot where I struggle with Indiana because you look at a team like Georgia. Georgia has played Clemson, they have played Texas, they have played Alabama, they have played Ole Miss, and they have played Tennessee. That is not even close to the same schedule as Indiana, who, when it's all said and done, they will have played 7 of the bottom 8 teams in the Big Ten. 7 of their games will have consisted of the bottom of the Big Ten.
I will say though, like I've seen Carson Beck and Georgia struggle in some games though this season, and they beat Tennessee, they beat Texas, but I don't know. I just feel like Indiana's a frisky team. I think even if they did end up lining up with Georgia somehow, like they're probably gonna hold their own, and like we'll see more and find out, I guess, a little bit better at the end of this weekend when we see them play Ohio State.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm saying. They have every opportunity to go play well this weekend. You don't even have to win. You just have to look like you belong in the top 12. If they don't do that, then that's that. And that should be it. And I kind of that's where Miami sitting there at 8 makes absolutely no sense to me as well.
That's where the brand bias comes in, right? Because that makes no sense. Their strength of schedule sucks. Their best win is Louisville by 7, which, okay, SMU has the same win by 7. SMU, if you look at how bad the losses are, or good the losses are, which it seems like the committee's doing, SMU has a loss against, now I know they lost, but number 14 overall, BYU, with only 1 loss. It's a better loss. And that's where the brand bias is coming in, because
they're just assuming Miami's going to win the ACC,
which they might not even have a chance to, like the way it runs out, like they might not. So that's where I get bothered. The Notre Dame thing, that's another brand bias thing. Why? Who have they beat? Oh, their best win's probably against, okay, they have their A&M win, good win. That's a good win. I'll say that's a good win. But them having a home playoff game because they beat who else? Oh, FSU sucks. That's right. You lost to Northern Illinois, who's atrocious in the MAC. That means something. And, you know what? Good luck against, Army, I guess. You're going to be able to prove it this weekend. But it is what it is. I will say this. I do think Georgia's being the most disrespected out of any team in this group.
For sure.
They have the toughest schedule by far the toughest schedule. Their 2 losses were on the road, an SEC spot. The fact that they're matching up, they would, in my opinion, even if it's a night game at Penn State, is that the matchup is? I'd take them by 10 or more. Are you kidding me?
They would smoke. I would say I feel like Indiana would put up a better game against Georgia than Penn State would for sure.
I can't say anything about Indiana. It's not their fault until they play. If they can keep it close with Ohio State on the road, Stu, I'm with you. I just can't. I don't know how good they are. Like, I don't think they're being disrespected whatsoever. If they keep it within really 20 points in my eyes, they should be in the playoffs. Like, I know that's probably a lot of points, but if they cover especially, like, yes, I'm with you there. I just don't know. They're passing the eye test, but they're finally playing a real team. And
I just think they could have a better shot at scoring on Georgia's defense than Penn State does.
That's fair.
Penn State's defense might be better, but I don't know.
I do think my point with Georgia is I think Georgia at their best might still be the best team in the country when they're their best. That's including Carson Beck.
Sure.
Their defense, they can win a
championship.
championship.
They're up and down. They have been a little more up and down than they have been in past years for sure.
Right. I just don't know enough with Indiana yet. They might go in and they could even beat Ohio State. I don't know if they will. Yeah. I'll probably take the points just for the fun of it because, hey, F it. Like, let's go. Let's see how it is. But I do think Miami's obviously it's a brand thing. We know Penn State is. But those SEC teams will shake up. Now let's talk about this. Let's talk about this, right?
Sure.
Let's talk about the SEC in general. There's all teams. So there's a world where the SEC really is probably getting 4, but maybe 5 teams. The only way Penn State's out is if they lose, and they should be out. You cannot put a 10-2 Penn State team in there. I fully believe that. Lane Kiffin has come out this week, fellas, and said specifically that he doesn't want, it's almost it's a bad thing. He doesn't like the fact that you could get, kind of kicked to the curb if you lose the SEC championship. Ward Manuel, of all people, which kind of makes more sense, that fool of a man is the one speaking on behalf of the committee. I don't know if you guys knew this. He came out and said, we will reward for sure the conference champion, the coach, the second place, the runner-up, which they should in the SEC. If you make the SEC or the Big Ten championship, auto bid. Should be an auto bid. Let's talk about those teams outside or getting close to being out. Who do you think will be a team that, might be out or in that we don't see? Is there anyone you guys got that, obviously with the whole ranking, teams like A&M, they beat Texas.
I was going to say, I think that's one
out.
I think that's the biggest one. That's the game with the largest ramifications, because if Texas A&M wins that game, Texas A&M, like you said, should be auto in. They're going to make the SEC championship game. If Texas loses that, I understand that the resume no longer stacks up. They've beaten a bunch of bad teams. They've played 2 tough opponents in Texas A&M and Georgia. They've lost both of them. Do they deserve to be in? That's one that's tough to defend. Obviously, they're extremely talented. They went to the playoffs last year, but only so many teams can make it in. I would rather see a 2-loss Texas in over a 1-loss Miami or a 1-loss Penn State. But the way that things are right now, that's not going to happen, obviously.
Agreed.
I think if Miami loses to Wake Forest or Syracuse, they're for sure out.
Well, they will have to be because they're only going to bid one ACC team. There's only one ACC team making it.
Yes.
I think BYU is going to lose this weekend, so I would say they're out.
I think Colorado's going to win the Big 12 for sure. I'll stand on the table. I might go just take that after and see what the odds are. I think they are for sure going to win the Big 12.
So who does Colorado have left? Their schedule isn't that tough, right?
No, they play against Kansas, who's frisky for sure, and then Oklahoma State, who's atrocious this year. Terrible. Okay. The downfall of Oklahoma State is unreal this year.
Yeah, they're brutal. Even Ollie Gordon's not very good this year.
Well, they were 0-7 in conference play. They might have won a game by now, but they're bad.
Oh, that's brutal. That's tough. But yeah, in terms of the way that things have changed or things can change, Ole Miss is kind of locked in. Yeah, I don't know if there's
if they win out. Yes.
Yeah, if Ole Miss, who else do they have left? I haven't seen their schedule.
I think they play Florida. I think they go to the Swamp.
Which isn't.
That's not a give me.
This weekend,
Bama goes to Auburn, right?
Yeah, that's
Auburn,
whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
With the teams, there's only one team. There's only one team. Let me ask you this, and if I'm wrong, please tell me. Only one team is in. Like right now, even if they lost, they're in. There's only one team. It's Oregon. If Oregon somehow lost to Washington, because they're 11-0, they have a bye week. They're still automatically in the Big Ten championship. And even if they lost the Big Ten championship to the Ohio State, they're still in. That is the only team that is guaranteed a spot in at this point. Tell me I'm wrong.
Let me ask you. So let's say Ohio State loses to Michigan the last week. They don't go to the Big Ten championship game. You think they kick them all the way out of the top 12?
Well, they would go, wouldn't they? Even if they lost to Michigan, that's their only loss.
No, they'd have two Big Ten losses.
They'd have two Big Ten losses to Oregon, and then Indiana would get the in over them because they beat Penn State.
Ohio State would have beat Indiana, right? Like if Ohio State
would have beat Indiana, but they already have two losses in the Big Ten. Indiana would have one.
Oh, damn.
Penn State would have one.
State already. So maybe Penn State. We'd have to look at the tiebreakers. It'd either be Penn State or Indiana. But I think
it'd either be Penn State or Indiana versus Oregon. And so that's where that'd be a team where the way Ohio State sits right now, if they were to lose to Michigan, a big rival, I'd be curious to see what they do. Would they deserve to be in?
They're number 2 in the country, really, right? So that's fair. But like, if Texas loses to A&M, they're out.
I think they're out,
and I think they should be out. Like, and cover Texas. We're here in Austin, whatever. Like, I have to be kind of homer to them. I actually don't have to be, but you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
No, they their best win right now. What, Vanderbilt, who's not even ranked? They don't even have a ranked win right now.
Vandy, yeah, that's their best win.
So Ohio State maybe, but Oregon's the only one.
Yeah,
they're like the only guaranteed one.
I think they're the only lock right now in the playoffs because Georgia won't really. I don't foresee them losing. But if they lose a game, they're out. I mean, they have no room margin for error. Ole Miss, same boat. Alabama, same boat because they have 2 losses. Texas, same boat. Indiana. I mean, even if they get destroyed by Ohio State, hate to say it, fellas,
you're out.
They could be out. Yeah. And I want them too, fellas. But Boise State has no margin for error, room for error. Penn State, 1 loss, they should be out. Miami has no business being there. Notre Dame, if they lose to Army or anybody, they're out. It's Notre Dame and Notre Dame plays USC and Army. Bama, like you said, Stu, I think they play like a Mercer and then they go to Auburn.
They play Oklahoma
Mercer this
and then
weekend.
Auburn.
Oh, they go to Oklahoma and then they
go to Oklahoma. They got Auburn at home.
Yeah, but Oklahoma.
Yeah, they played Mercer last weekend. That's
terrible teams.
So out of these first 4 first round games, which one of these do you think would be like the best game, like most competitive game? I feel like I gotta go Ole Miss, Indiana.
I don't know. Like you got to see. I need to see Indiana, which we'll see this weekend. I would need to see Indiana actually play somebody that is a playoff caliber team.
Compared to the other ones, though, I think Georgia would smoke Penn State. I think Alabama would smoke Notre Dame. Ohio State would smoke BYU.
Yeah, that's true.
I think that would be the closest spread. Yeah. Even closer. Next one would be Notre Dame hosting Bama, but I agree, Stu, and Dak. Yeah, I'll tell you this, and I've kind of done this. I've done a little digging on this. I think the worst spot to be. I mean, nobody wants to be the 12 seed, but it's probably going to be the Mountain West or the American or the Big 12 team at this point might be, right?
Yeah.
You don't want to be. It's Bama, so they're in this situation. But God, you don't want to be the 9 seed. You got to go on the road. You got to play the 1 seed, even if you win that. And then if you win that, you got to probably play. Look at Ohio State. Ohio State would run through those teams. Through those teams. You would legit have to play away game against 6 seed in this circumstance. Number 1
Notre
overall
Dame.
at a site that's closest to number 1. Because the way it is the second round of the playoffs is now it turns into the New Year's Six bowl games, right? The first team gets to pick where they want to go between the Rose Bowl, the Fiesta Bowl, the Sugar Bowl, and the Peach Bowl. So obviously, Oregon would want to go Rose Bowl, West Coast bias, right? So you don't even get, right. So that spot at 9, which to be honest, like a Georgia or Alabama is probably going to be, or even Ole Miss, one of those teams is probably going to be the 9 seed.
Yeah, I mean, Ohio State's sitting in a good spot right now.
5 is sexy to be in. 5 is
like the
underrated spot ever.
Yeah, 5 is arguably the best spot because you get to play the 4 seed next. You basically get to play the 2 worst conference champions.
Yeah,
that's where you're getting, and so 5 is a glorious spot to be. And man, they might stay there. I mean, it depends on obviously what happens in the Big Ten championship game and this weekend against Indiana. But you're right, that 9 spot is tough.
Brutal.
It is brutal. It is brutal because you have to go on the road. And that's the worst part of it, obviously. Once you get into the neutral site games, though, it's kind of whatever. It's a free-for-all.
I think the only team in the country, though.
I know, yeah, number 1 team in the country.
That's going to either be like Oregon, Ohio State, or probably Texas. Like those are probably the 3 teams you got to play.
This is a year though. This is a year where it's not as bad though, and you can go and like if you're Alabama, you go play Oregon. Obviously, you don't want to play them right away. I'd rather maybe go play Oregon in a New Year's Six bowl there than go play them later in a national championship. I don't know. It just depends. But the best spot is 5. 5's the best spot by far. You get 2 cakewalk games. You get a home playoff game against a bad conference champion, most likely, and then you get a neutral site game against another bad conference champion. Like that's the one spot that's perfect.
I would debate like 5 or whatever team if it's 6, like Penn State right now, that doesn't have to play in their conference championship. Like the team that's the highest spot, like if it's 6 seed, you don't even have to play in your conference championship. You're just sitting there. Penn State played the school of the blind, 11-1. Oh, we don't even have to play this week. We could rest for more time, and then we could get to play the ACC champion. We get to go play SMU or Clemson or Miami after we play. And you got to probably play a tough SEC team that's going to get like seeded poorly. I don't know, man.
The worst outcome for everyone would be, and I don't think this is even possible. Just all the conference championships would have to play out in like the worst case scenario, where like Ohio State loses one before, like the Big Ten has a 2-loss conference or a 2-loss team that loses in the conference championship. SEC same way would be Notre Dame if they got the 5 seed somehow, because they would not have to play in a conference championship game. They would have that 5 seed. They play in a home game, so they'd get a bye week. They play in a home playoff game, then they go play the 4 seed. That would be the most annoying situation. I don't think it's going to happen. I hope it doesn't happen, but that one would probably be the most frustrating. And that's what everybody said before the season started. They're like, Notre Dame's fine with how the playoff is structured right now because they can just put up an easy schedule and sit at that 5 seed all day for years to come.
Yeah. Should we rip a little Dak's dog?
I'm going to do Dak's dog. Yeah, let's get to Dak's dog.
Yeah, right. Let's do that. Anything else, boys? Final comments?
What I wanted to ask is, and this is it's a broad question, but I want to hear from you guys before we get to Dak's dog. From what you've seen, and Indiana is probably the only asterisk because they haven't played anyone real until this week. We'll know after this week who can win the national championship. How many teams? In your guys' eyes, possible
teams that I think can win the national championship. I still think Texas can win a national championship. I still think Georgia can win a national championship. Oregon can win a national championship. Alabama can win a national championship. And we talked about this the other day. I am, for right now, going to say Ohio State. I don't want to say can't. That's the tough thing. But I'm going to just leave Ohio State out of it right now because because of what Ryan Day has done in big games. And so far, especially what happened against Oregon, the late game blunder, we got to see what they look like against Indiana. Michigan and potentially the Big Ten championship game. But it just feels like a same story, different cast with them right now. I'm going to say no for right now.
Wow. Seth McLaughlin, just their center, the kid who transferred from Bama, he tore his Achilles, so he's out for the whole year. Their O-line's been bad.
Yeah. Damn. Yeah, I would say so Texas, I don't know. I don't know if I'm fully sold on saying I can see them winning the Natty this year yet. But if they make it through the rest of the regular season undefeated, I would probably say yeah. Like if they beat A&M. Oregon for sure. I think Dylan Gabriel, you just added a very veteran QB, a guy who already balled at Oklahoma last year, to a team that we knew was pretty good. I think they definitely have a chance to win it. I would say Bama, mainly just because DeBoer, he was in a Natty last year, and he's at Alabama now, better players than at Washington. And then I would say Georgia too. I'm not sold on Indiana, Ole Miss, Miami, Penn State. Not even Ohio State right now. Definitely not BYU or Boise or Notre Dame.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, I think the only thing that the only team that I don't know if you said it, Dak, if I missed it, I think Ole Miss, the only team I'd maybe throw in the mix. Did you say that one?
I did not. I didn't.
Yeah, that's the only pushback I have, fellas. It'd be really tough. They'd probably be the most fringe one for me. But that offense, man, they're dynamic. And what they did against Georgia was impressive. I know they have some bad losses, but if they really hone in, I think Jackson Dart's good enough. The defense has proven they're pretty solid. And they got weapons. Oregon, I agree with. Bama, I agree with. Georgia, definitely agree with. Texas, for sure. I'm again, maybe biased, but I definitely think they can win a championship if they're playing at their top level. They're the best defense in the country. And so I don't know why they couldn't. Ohio.
No, I agree. If they lose to A&M, that would be the only question marks I would have.
Sure, and they shouldn't. You know what, those two, they shouldn't be in it then. Like, I mean, that's a tough place to play, and it's a rivalry that I believe the stat is that they haven't had like them both ranked this high since like a 50s matchup, because every time those guys used to play each other, one of them was horrible. One was kind of ass, and the other team was good. And it's been a 13-year. That game on that Saturday will take over for what Michigan-Ohio State was this year. Michigan-Ohio State was this year, because that is a playoff game at an insane venue, and they like to lose at that venue for big games. Referring to A&M, I mean that's just fact. So, that's punch you're taking in the playoff game. Yeah, other than that, I'll throw Ohio State in the mix because what they have, but that O-line, them losing their center today that's even more shaky. I mean, I would take all three of those SEC four, throw Texas in there, four of those SEC teams over Ohio State. The only team I'd throw in this mix is Oregon. Notre Dame, I don't think so. No. But yeah, I think it's really down to 5 teams, maybe 6 if you throw Ohio State in there. I'll say 6 teams can win the national championship.
Right. So that actually, I do have, I guess, another question, because we talked about it a little bit, how there's brand bias with the rankings.
Yeah.
And then all across Twitter or any social media or the media, whatever, there's always the notion of, and obviously I'm a part of this, but there's SEC bias. And at least in my eyes, like from my point of view, of course, I'm going to put more stock in a team like Georgia, who ever since Kirby Smart took over 8 years ago has been a national title contender. Alabama, consistently national title contender. Even if you look at like an Ohio State, I'll put a little bias towards that way, or even Texas, who made the playoffs last year, and they have an extremely, extremely talented roster. I don't think that's necessarily biased. That's just from what you have seen. That
the SEC's just been good against other conferences, I feel like.
Against other conferences as well.
And so, yeah, I feel like is it a bias? Yeah, but it's a bias for a reason.
Yeah, no, exactly. And that's what I'm getting at. Where the committee, it's like a brand/record bias, because the Penn State, obviously big brand, and it makes why would you not want to be more biased towards a Georgia, or even, as much as it annoys me, like a Tennessee or an Ole Miss in Alabama, who they play in big games and win them. Why would you be biased towards a Penn State who just has one loss. I get it. Or even a Notre Dame who only has one loss, and a Miami who has one loss. They're all big brands, but it's almost a record bias. And again, it's not like how do you look on the field, but what is your win-loss total,
right?
Which is the confusing thing to me, I suppose.
Yeah.
The thing with the SEC, and now we'll go to Dax Dog after this. The SEC, though, they've produced the most. I mean, Big Ten's produced a lot in the NFL. We're talking about next level production. They've produced the most current NFL players. Big Ten, definitely number 2. It's 1A, 1B. Like, that's how it is. And also, 4-team playoff format. First team to win that format was Ohio State. Every single other team in between's been SEC besides Clemson. Throw Clemson in there twice, right? Yeah. But Bama, Georgia, Alabama, LSU, and then Michigan. That's it. And so
I was going to say, because we're used to seeing like SEC teams beating Ohio State in the playoff. We're used to see when MSU made it, they got smoked by Alabama in the first round.
They didn't even record a point.
And even in the big like bowl games that weren't playoff games, we've just seen SEC teams dominate like Pac-12 or Big Ten teams. So I don't know. I feel like it's definitely there is a bias there, but yeah, it's for a reason. It's because they're good. We usually in the big primetime games, the SEC team wins. That's why it was so crazy, especially when Michigan beat Alabama last year, because as soon as we saw that draw, I was like, oh, this is like probably the last one you want.
It was the natty. That was the natty.
Yeah, exactly.
That was the natty.
And that's the thing. I think that's the only frustrating part is it's not like the committee should be biased, but it's still they're just completely biased towards how many losses do you have, and that's it.
They're like it's just how weird they are. They want 4 and 4.
They pick and choose very weird.
They clearly want 4 and 4. I mean, why Penn State? I know we keep hammering them. Why they're 4th in the country is beyond my imagination. Indiana, I actually whatever. They've only won games by a lot. Yeah. What has Penn State done? What has Miami done? I mean, whatever. I digress.
Right.
We digress.
Let's rip a little Dax Dog.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, Dak, why don't you give a little preface as to how we're doing 2 this week, making up for last week.
Okay, yeah. We're doing 2. I kind of have 2 categories. But we're doing 2 because last week we obviously didn't do a show. We picked a Dax Dog. And then I did pick another new category, which is like a Dax Dog rest in peace one. You know, the opposite of Dax Dog, like biggest loser. We could say that.
Dax dead dog was thrown around out there.
Dax dead, yeah, Dax dead dog. Yeah. We can workshop the name. I came up with a couple others, not the best, and so we'll do both. Last week's Dax Dog, which I had already picked, there was a bunch of great choices. Ole Miss, their D-line went crazy, but there's only one quarterback who, against one team in 2 years, can rush for 8 touchdowns and 400 yards on the ground and pretty much have the exact same performance back-to-back years in a big game against a quote-unquote great team with a great coach. Last week's Dax Dog was Jalen Milroe. You going to throw it up there?
I am going to throw it up there.
There we go, Jalen Milroe. 109 yards passing because that didn't matter. 185 yards rushing, 4 rushing touchdowns. Everybody knew what he wanted to do. Everybody knew what he was going to do. And he still did it anyways, just like he did the year prior. And so that's Dax Dog last week. And for last week's other category, which is Dax, we could call it Dax Dead Dog. Also, sorry, actually, let me backtrack. Dax, another honorary dog of the week. My brother, his one of his first dogs, Stewie, one of my childhood dogs, R.I.P. Bless him. Stewie. Great, Stewie. Great dog. He's Dax Dog of the week. With nothing to do with that, Dax Dead Dog of the week. It was actually going to be one of the people. It was going to be Carson Beck, but he actually redeemed himself this week. He had a great performance against Tennessee, but against Ole Miss, he looked awful. The other one, he did not redeem himself this week. He actually got much worse, and it's Brian Kelly. We could say in the doghouse, but he is how do you say it? He is the biggest loser in college football right now. The angriest elf, the angriest leprechaun, whatever you want to say.
He's textbook loser. Like loser is what he is right now.
Yep.
I hate to say it,
incredibly disappointed. He is somebody that makes you wonder, what were you doing for 2 weeks before you played Alabama? How'd you let Jalen Milroe run for 4 touchdowns on you again? How do you do that? And then the next week you come back, you go to the Swamp. Everyone knows it's going to be a tough game, and you drop another stinker. And you just sit there wondering, like, what are you doing all week at practice? You claim you're going to play your best players. You refuse to do it. You just won't do it. Special teams, bad. Turnovers, bad. Defense, bad. So he is Dak's dead dog of the weeks and the months and the years and years to come.
Can I request this? I know you do this too. You do a great job. Appreciate the graphics, brother. Can we get dead eyes, like the X's out of the eyes, maybe a Brian Kelly next week and whoever Dak's dead dog would be? That's what I request.
Yeah.
We definitely can get a Brian Kelly X on the eyes.
That would be ideal. I'd love to see that.
I'd love to see it too. And for those that don't know, which nobody would except for the two here, I actually spent my Friday night, sadly, defending Brian Kelly, which I never thought I would do or have to do. But we're in this situation now. And then Saturday, I thought I was past the point of getting pissed. And yet I was wrong. And so now I have to make a choice. Either I continue to defend Brian Kelly, who I hate with every bone in my body right now, until he wins a national championship. Or, I can just let it go and hope they fire him, which they will not. So
can I just say this?
Sure.
If he does not retain the commitment of Bryce Underwood, there's no reason he should be coach of LSU.
Agreed.
So listen.
Fair to say.
Listen,
agreed.
We still have for that class specifically, we have the number 1 cornerback. Mm-hmm. We have the number 1 running back. We have another top 25 5-star cornerback, and we're 50-50 on I think it's a D lineman as well.
Yeah,
and
but
then
you got
obviously
guys now too. Like it's not like
and then we did have the commitment of DeCorian Moore, who went to Oregon. So we have a great class for 2025. And then there have been these in the past historic classes that have come out of Louisiana. So 2011, that 2011 team was 1. And so it was like the 2010 class with like Tyrann Mathieu. And so, it was the Jarvis Landry, OBJ, like that class. Yeah. And then there was like the Jamar Chase, Terrace Marshall. There have been historic classes out of Louisiana. 2026 is also supposed to be that. They're already getting a bunch of native Louisiana commitments. And so it's tough. But the thing is that it has nothing to do with Brian Kelly. LSU's done that since the year 2000 hit. And so, I don't know. Who else do you get? It's such a big buyout, too. Like, it's whatever.
Can I offer you?
I don't care.
Joe
anymore.
Brady.
I would love Joe Brady.
Brady.
Oh, my God. I would absolutely get the man a great defensive coordinator. He's a fantastic recruiter. We still have a good staff. I would love Joe Brady. Is that what he wants, though? Is that what he wants? I don't know.
Maybe does it. I don't know. It depends what the Bills do this year. But I like Joe Brady. That's who I tell you go out and get. Or, what's the McConaughey line?
I would give me Coach O in a heartbeat.
Bring back Coach O.
Give me Coach O in a heartbeat. I don't. So I don't mean to make this a LSU segment, but here's what I have kind of said from the start. Obviously,
we got 7 minutes till an hour mark. That's what we want to keep it at. We're doing pretty well. Go ahead. Speak your mind.
Okay. Coach O, when he left the program.
We got Rip Dak's second dog and hit in the DMs.
All right, just keep it quick. You got it, Dak.
I'll keep it quick. I'll go fast. When Coach O left the program, it was obviously a complete mess. I don't 100% blame the guy. You lost the most people to the draft ever. COVID hits. So you lose even more people on top of that. Your whole staff, no preparation. You hit on a booster's wife. Things are going down the toilet. It happens, okay? When he left.
It's your booster hit on a booster. That's what he was saying.
Yes. When he left, it was time for him to go. Brian Kelly needed to clean things up. He did a great job in his first 2 years, turned it around much faster than what people would have thought. He has now got things back in order, and he has gotten these recruits here and the staff in place where what you need now to win a national championship at LSU and in the state of Louisiana is a guy that gets his players ready for each and every game, especially the big ones, So they go out there and
So
all they want to do.
You need
all
a
they want
good
to do
coach, is what you're saying.
No. You need a no. You need a leader.
A guy who
of
gets his
men.
players ready for a game.
No.
That sounds like a coach to
I'm
me,
talking
man.
I'm talking pregame.
A leader of men.
Yes, a leader of men, a Dan Campbell.
Not a small Irish man.
Exactly. A guy who every game they go in there and they want to live and die football. That's all they want. You know what I mean? Coach O maybe didn't run the best program, but when you have the people
sloppy,
in place,
if you could say.
Exactly.
Louisiana's kind of sloppy, and they can win that way.
And listen, so the thing about Coach O is you need great coordinators for him to be successful.
Right.
If you have that, he's more than okay in terms of recruiting. Exactly. And he's a great quote unquote CEO, which isn't the best in college football. You kind of got to be everything, but whatever. This team with Coach O, the Jane Daniels team with Coach O last year, oh my God.
Yeah.
Way better.
Yeah. I've told y'all we feel. I mean,
right.
I know that Stu feels the same way. I'm just all set
move on from Brian Kelly at LSU.
Yeah, we'll move on from Brian Kelly.
He needs
if
to
he
go.
Loses, if they lose to Vandy in the yellow uniforms, that might be it too. I mean, what, 5 losses? Just saying. Diego Pavia, not bad.
Just so you guys know, I woke up this morning and I was like, you know what? Things aren't that bad. Brian Kelly might be okay. And you just got to buy back in.
Yeah, you're wrong. All right. Dak's second dog.
Oh, Dak's second dog. OG, he actually won us a Heisman playing NCAA 24. What is it? NCAA 24? Yeah.
25.
NCAA 25. We won a Heisman with him. He's fantastic. He's got like 1,500 yards on the year. He's probably the second best running back behind Ashton Genty, but he went for 244 and a touchdown this week. That's this week's Dak's dog.
He's a ball. I hope we get to see the real life Braylon James up on a Dak's dog one day, one of these years.
Braylon James? I guess he is a real person.
He's real. I looked him up.
Probably a freshman. He is.
Yeah. He's not horrible. I mean, obviously he doesn't have the stats we got with him, but he's all right.
Taking a look right now.
Okay, I think we have one more segment. Or you have another dead dog. Sorry.
Yeah, do you have
no,
dead dog?
It remains the same.
BK 2.0. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because the last 2 weeks he deserves to die. Both. Yes, I agree.
He does.
Losing to 2 of your better rivals. I agree.
And in horrible fashion.
Yeah.
All right.
Not
so
good.
this is new. We got a new thing we're trying called In the DMs. We've had a decent amount of college football players the past couple of weeks.
Wow.
Basically, in DMs.
Yeah.
I think this one is from last year. Actually.
This one's old, but
this is from last year.
We'll call it the SEC QBs in the DMs.
Okay.
Okay.
But yeah, so we got 3, and we're all gonna give them a rating 1 through 10 on their DM game, and we'll see who's got the best out of these 3 guys so far. So we got Carson Beck up first, and we can see here what he's saying.
I'll narrate it for us.
Yeah. Why don't you read this?
Got it. We can all do one. I'll start off with this one, guys. You guys take it from there.
Okay.
All right. You're right. That's my B. It's probably because I'm so lost in how good you look. Not trying to be weird, but especially when your tits are out. Gets my shit on hard immediately. That's crazy.
This is crazy.
The look to the side's crazy.
I was gonna say you gotta factor in the picture
interior.
on this one.
When you said I'll narrate, I was like, that last line. That's a
this is a tough one
against me.
Hey, the stuff too.
Yeah.
I don't know. The picture definitely brings it down for me in terms of rating. This picture,
but especially when your tits are out, gets my shit on hard. Gets my shit on hard.
Let's go through all of them and rate them.
All right.
Once we get through all of them, you got to comp some of the other ones.
Right.
They're pretty good.
That's Carson Beck.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have a feeling that's going to be one of the lower ones. All right.
That one's not.
I don't like the presentation. A lot going on there. I'm not really impressed. It wasn't the Riz level was minimal.
Next up, we got Mr. Quinn Ewers. We'll get a little zoom in here.
Zoom in.
So this
See, now
one,
this one-
I don't know. This one could be
This
This
worse.
one seems weird, though. I will say. Go ahead. You guys can
This
read
one's sus.
it. This
That's
one's
what I
weird.
was going to
She's
say.
deleted messages clearly.
She has deleted a lot.
This
She has
is
to
a little fraudulent.
So he said, just one, please. Just a pic, not even a vid. Great line. Because I want to see your pussy.
Missing a message. We're missing a message there.
Yeah, because that was like an explanation. And today doesn't make a lot of sense. Audrey just won. Why? We're missing something. Why though? Can't you send one? Why though? Just one. Fine, whatever. Booty. Booty.
And then a photo.
Then, okay, photo, not open. He goes, take it off. She said,
okay,
photo.
Now he's got a girlfriend up in Oklahoma. I know that. So he's in the doghouse clearly.
And this was like a couple weeks ago, right?
On this one, bro.
This one came out from Old Row recently. Yeah.
Yeah. But like you said, this one we're not getting the granted. There's really not one good line in here. Maybe the best line is just booty.
Desperate.
That was funny. Really desperate, but there's definitely a lot of messages deleted.
We're missing some context here. Booty is funny. Booty is booty. Yeah.
Booty is funny.
That's not bad. All right.
Win.jpg's hilarious.
Yeah.
Right.
And honestly, the funniest part of that one is she just went, okay, photo, and then okay, photo.
Yeah, she folded, bro. She folded.
Yeah.
All right.
I have not seen this one.
Yeah.
I just read it earlier. So I'll read it again. We got Marcel Reed, and it looks like the woman he's DMing said, "Just let me know, baby." And he goes, "You already know, hun," with the little kiss emoji. She says, "What you doing?" And then Marcel drops, honestly, what is probably the best line so far.
Yeah.
Trying to see that ass, not gonna lie.
Not gonna lie. Yeah.
And then she says, really? He
you
says,
lose
yes.
me at the end, though.
He says, yes,
OMG,
really.
baby.
Please, baby. Can I get a peek? She sends the photo. OMG, baby. You made me so horny. Yeah, honestly, I'm not big on dropping horny. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. You make me so horny is a crazy line.
That's a little crazy.
Yeah, but if I'm a quarterback in the SEC, I just don't think I'm working through the DMs. I'm gonna be honest.
No, dude, there's no way. So this one was older though. He wasn't starting, right?
Okay.
I think.
Trying to see that
I think his is the best.
Yeah,
his is the best. Yeah, his is the best when he said, "Trying to see that ass." Not gonna lie, the not gonna lie at the end. Classic play, good move. You know, that's about as smooth as it gets. The final line, not great, obviously. Carson Beck's, I think, is Quinn's was pretty bad too.
Yeah, so what are we
don't know what she's saying, and it still worked though.
What are we gonna rank these here?
I'd go Marcel's the highest. I'm gonna put that at about 7 out of 10 game.
Marcel with a 7. I like Marcel with a strong 7. I was gonna go like 7.5 for Marcel. Okay. The without the last line, I could have gave him like a 7.7.
Yeah.
I was gonna say even that last one. The last line was, "Ooh baby, you make me so horny."
That's crazy.
Crazy.
I was gonna say that was like a 6.5. Quinn's, like you said, we don't get all the responses, and so, but he was pressed. Like he was really pressed. That's like a 5.
We don't know all the context though.
We don't know all the context.
To be fair.
But on Quinn, I'm going like a 3, dude.
Yeah, I was going sub 3 for the next 2. Yeah.
Sub 3 is fair. Carson Beck's is the worst with the Snapchat face and the what he say? You get my shit on hard immediately.
Get my shit on hard.
Who's saying
especially when those hits are out? Yeah.
Who's sending that on Snap? Like, what do you think is gonna happen?
And the picture ruins it too. The look to the side, crazy play.
Low quality pick, not good.
He's dating that Kavanagh twin still, so hey, whatever.
Bro, he may have sent that to her. You never know.
He's laughing to the bank. So,
If he sent that to her,
the
if he sent that to her and it worked, that's clearly that one's like a 9.
Clearly, we're missing something. Yeah.
We're missing something. Yeah. Yeah.
Agreed. Yeah, I agree. All right, fellas. That was good stuff. We'll be back. We got some big games. Really, we going up. Next episode, we'll preview the big games. Obviously, Texas A&M is going to be a big one, but there's still a few ones on the docket for this week. So we'll get to it. This has been Reaction Committee, fellas. Any last words?
Any last words? Yeah. Everybody go ahead and comment on the YouTube video your pick of the week.
Pick of the week.
Do one pick. Yeah, whole college slate or NFL.
Dak. I like that.
Comment your pick of the week. We'll take all of them and we'll put it in a TRC parlay. We'll see what happens.
Nice. And then we'll start making our own picks next week. How about that?
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go. We can definitely start that.
All right, good stuff, Stu. You good?
I'm good. Yeah.
All right.
Good show,
Good
fellas.
stuff. Good to be back, fellas. Hopefully we'll be in studio within the next – I'm assuming not next week because of Thanksgiving. So we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll play it by ear. We'll get there when we get there.
We'll be there by December. How about that?
Yeah.
That works.
There we go.
All right. Go Tigers. Screw Brian Kelly.
All right, boys. See ya.
Peace.